That's giving the artificial intelligence too much control, and then they're gonna take over, and I don't approve.
All right,
You ready to do this?
let's do it.
What's up, Star Wars nerds? Welcome to another episode of Talking Bearded.
Unscripted and unshaven. You just got to poke that bear, don't you?
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
They didn't like your take, man.
I don't care.
Like, they hated it.
I don't care.
Actually, I read through some of the comments on TikTok.
Some sided with me, others did.
You had some defenders in there.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Nick has a hot take.
They can get wrecked. I don't care.
He liked Last Jedi. It's okay. We still love him.
Did you see the All-American Rejects rolled through Ames
Oh,
last night?
Oh, yeah. And then we found out my brother knew about it all along, didn't even tell us.
Yeah, what a jerk.
Yeah.
Laramie, you're the worst.
Laramie is the worst. Yeah, no, they're one of my favorite bands, for sure. Their albums are...
They're different. Like each one you can tell they evolve, but they still stay in that punk rock pop genre, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Like I remember the first album I listened to of theirs, which had Swing Swing on it. I don't know if you remember that one, but that gave more of like an acoustic punk rock vibe to it, and they kind of morphed to going all electric. Yeah. And it took me a while to like when I was listening to them to understand that their bassist is the lead singer, that he plays bass and sings.
Tyson Ritter.
Yeah.
Yeah, the so obviously Move Along, that album is great.
Oh yeah.
But the first album is just called The All-American Rejects, like self-titled.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yep. Really like that one. Swing Swing and like the last song, those ones are kind of one of the first, like I really started getting me into the pop
the
punk
last
stuff.
song was really good.
Yeah, it was like those and then some Blink stuff, like all the small things and stuff. I like the third album. They lost me with the fourth one. Like I think it was called like Beekeeper's Daughter or something.
Yeah.
That one got a little too weird. I wasn't really into that one.
Well, they're doing this new thing now where, and I've seen them on TikTok, and I actually started following them because of this, where they'll do like pop-up shows. So they'll like invade someone's backyard or
They did a bowling alley.
And then this one, obviously in Ames, was on a farm. I think you said what, 4,500 people showed
Apparently
up?
like 4,500 people showed up and then like freaked out.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. I guess they had to cut it short though because someone like OD'd or something.
Oh no.
Yeah. But yeah, they so I did some digging.
Okay.
And because all of a sudden I saw a bunch of TikToks of them like in some backyard in Chicago.
Yeah.
And then like the next day I saw some TikToks. They were in a bowling alley in Minneapolis. I'm like, well, okay, what is happening here? So they've got a new album coming out.
Oh, I didn't know that.
First one in like 13 years or something.
Yeah.
And so this is their like tour that they're doing for it.
That's awesome.
Which I think...
Now I wish even more I would have gone and known about it earlier. Now I'm even more angry at Laramie.
Well, I think it's... I'm always angry at Laramie.
I don't have any siblings, so I don't know that feeling.
I think that it's one, incredibly cool, very smart marketing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Because now people are catching on and it's like, where are they going to be next and stuff? They're only charging like $5.
That's awesome.
Like it's nothing. I saw one TikTok where Tyson Ritter, the main guy, was saying like, he's like, we're not interested in charging you Ticketmaster fees and $25 for parking and all this crazy stuff. They're just like, he's like, we just want to play shows and stuff.
That's the way that should be, man. Like, gone are the days where I used to be able to spend $20 to get into a show at Valor Ballroom.
Yeah. Or Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
Or, well, Woolies, I guess, is kind of that way, depending on the group that rolls in. But
What's that new venue that popped up over by Drake?
XBK?
Yeah.
I've been to a few shows there. It's really intimate.
I've never been there. Laramie went and saw the Rocket Summer there
Okay.
a couple weeks ago. I was going to go, but Thursday night, it was just a hard night to get away on. But
yeah. No, I've seen... who did I see there? I saw David Ramirez there, great singer-songwriter. And then a local band that my buddy was drumming for. He was filling in. I saw him play. It's a smaller, intimate, just sort of setting. And I enjoy it. And there's the new one out in Waukee.
I can't remember that at all. What?
Hang on. Vibrant Music Center.
Yeah.
Because there's like Vibrant Insurance and Vibrant is a common theme over in the Key.
Yeah.
Conveniently where
Which they've had some good ones. They've had like Under Oath, Sum 41, like all in the last year or so.
I think
All of
Bowling
which
for Soup wasn't there. Bowling for Soup was over at
That was at Valor.
Ice Nine Kills. Are you familiar with them? They're an interesting band. So they are their breakthrough album was The Silver Scream, where one of their songs I'm thinking of took like a hit off of American Psycho and like blended it as like a Huey Lewis kind of vibe.
Nice. I like it.
And then they did a song recently for The Terrorizer 3, which I know you're not a horror guy, but it's a great slasher flick.
Yeah.
And their music videos are insane.
Yeah.
They're so good.
You know
So
what pop punk thing has really got me recently that I unashamedly love it?
What's that?
Is the Disney remake album.
Oh, dude, that album is so good.
The song, the Eye to Eye song with that. What the heck?
We were thinking the same thing. Again, well, it's great that it coincides with my favorite Disney movie, as we spoke about a few episodes ago, but the vocals on that are just incredible.
Even Simple Plan did the Lion King song, Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
They did. Who did A Whole New World?
Yellow Card.
Yellow Card did A Whole New World.
Yeah. Chick sing with them too.
I don't know who that was.
But
that album, that's really solid.
Just combines like so much, like literally my whole childhood, from like childhood to young adult, all just.
I've noticed that my car
together.
playlist now consists of punk rock from like the mid 2000s, country music, but not like the frat boy country music as they call it, but more like the Tyler Childers, Jason Isbell, if you can call that country. More like the Americana singer-songwriter, and then rap.
Country on the Americana side,
and then rap.
Nice.
Those are like,
dude, I like
those
rap.
round out my playlist, and it's all in one, and I love it.
I don't listen to rap a lot, and I don't want to listen to a ton of rappers, but I occasionally get on a kick. Sure. And then that's just like, I just listen like for a week straight. It's just all rappers.
On that same topic, I think anything Rick Rubin produces is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, something. He's just got a magic touch to stuff.
He's incredible to the music he creates or puts out is incredible, mainly because he doesn't know anything about about producing or mixing.
Yeah.
He just gives his opinion.
Yeah.
And it really just directs the artist to produce what
he has like no
good.
Technical ability of any kind.
Doesn't know how to run a board, doesn't play an instrument.
Which you'd even think after all of his years of producing he would pick up.
But he knows how to do all of this just incredible stuff. And he's got a book out. I think you should stock it here. By the way, Quest Haven Books.
Oh yeah. Read. We'll do it later.
He's got a book that it's incredible. He's got a couple podcasts out. He's been on Ryan Holiday's podcast about stoicism. Dude, he's just an all-around good guy. Or maybe I don't know if he's a good guy. I've never met him. But he's also big into WWE, which is like, oh, cool. Yeah. He's also got a killer beard. Oh, cool.
He's been on a lot of, like, he was on Joe Rogan, like, I think a couple years ago, he did like a big circuit of stuff. Must have been when his book came out.
It was. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Ryan Holiday. I have most of his books on stoicism. I have his like Daily Stoic. I like to read that.
I have the Daily Dad. I think that's the only one that I purchased. Mainly because I was on this path of trying to better myself. Sure. And I'm still kind of on that path, but it's also, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out who I am as a person, as a dad, and as a husband, and all of this stuff. And it keeps taking a backseat, and I need it to not take a backseat. Anyway, Daily Dad. I bought that Daily Dad. It's been a good read. It's also, I get the email and I get it in podcast. So I get like 3 different ways of it that I can just be ingrained in it every single day.
Yeah, I discovered his stuff quite a few years ago now. Daily Stoic is great. It's just like a normal, not like a devotional. It's just like a daily snippet to read about, like, he just has a little tidbit about.
That's a bookshop I want to go visit.
And he has, his bookshop would be cool. And it's broken up by month too. So like each month is a different theme. Like it's pretty cool. Yeah. All of his books are great though. Like he's currently putting out the Stoic Virtue series. I think he's got 3 of those out.
Oh, cool.
So one's about like courage. One's about thinking, like right thinking. Like it's just really interesting. I like all that
Speaking
stuff.
of books, I think now's a good time to do your ad read.
Yeah. So this episode is sponsored by. Can I say sponsored by?
Sure.
Sure. Quest Haven Books and Comics. It's where we film here, and also local comic book store and bookstore here in Winterset, Iowa. The best way to support us is on bookshop.org, where you can basically, it's like shopping on Amazon, but you support an indie bookstore. So it's, not going to just a random group of people. Jeff Bezos.
You should insert a graphic like right here.
Here.
Bookstore.org.
Bookshop.org.
See?
Bookshop.org. I think it's /Quest Haven Books, but if you go in the top right corner, click choose a bookstore, pick our bookstore. There you go.
So what's going on with you? What's new?
What is new? Well, today was yard work. Did a lot of that today. It was due. We kind of hadn't quite got to it with spring, so ripped out some garden beds, got some machines out there, did some mowing, all that. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Really excited about doing this podcast, so I've been liking that. Having fun with that.
It's been nice to do. It's been difficult to try and figure out the best time to do all the posts on social media. Like they say first thing in the morning is great, and then around lunchtime is great. And
I've never found that the timing seems to matter much. I think what matters, I've noticed, like, don't post things on Thanksgiving because nobody's looking at their phone.
No, not on holidays.
But like time of day doesn't seem like it matters a ton. But yeah, so I'm enjoying the podcast. I was telling you before we started, my daughter was like, "Hey Dad, can we listen to your podcast?" I'm like, "Sure." And then she's like, "Who is this guy? I need to meet him." And she has met you many times.
6 times.
Yeah, she's known you her entire life.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was kind of funny. But how about you?
We went and visited my in-laws this past weekend. They live up north in northern Iowa, so that was nice. We did that Saturday. I need to mow my yard. I recently got a new mower. I made the switch from gas powered to electric.
Okay.
So the gas power was a hand-me-down from my dad, and I think it's got to be 20 years old at least. So it was time. I got it serviced a couple years ago. I noticed that the engine just wasn't keeping up. So it is now sitting in my garage. I need to put it on the side of the street. And then I bought an electric one, and I used it once last week, and it went really well, and I need to use it again. But I am lazy, so I didn't buy.
So speaking of electric tools, I don't care to get into a whole like gas electric debate about it, but recently, so I'm a DeWalt guy. Nobody freak out. I know like people have their tool, things. It's like sorting Harry Potter houses, but
whatever.
So I'm all in on DeWalt because, once you get like the batteries are the expensive parts. Once you get a few batteries, it's like the tools are cheap.
Yeah.
I got a electric chainsaw.
Oh, cool.
So we live out in the country. We're on a little acreage, and I was just wanting something. It's not powerful enough to, like, if I'm going to go chop down some trees, like a lot, like I'm going to do a lot of, it's not powerful enough for that.
Okay.
But what happens a lot, we have a long driveway, winter happens, snow, trees fall down, I got to get them cut and moved. Well, sometimes in the winter, gas powered can be hard to start. Electric one, pop the battery on, starts right up. So picked up one of those, love it. It sounds like I'm using a toy.
Yeah. I am amazed with my lawnmower how quiet it is.
Yeah.
And I also enjoy not smelling like gasoline when I'm done.
Yeah. So I've not been disappointed by that. And then it uses the same batteries as like my drills and saws and like all that stuff. So
my lawnmower is Ryobi or Ryobi. I don't know. I don't.
So you're like the Ravenclaw of power tools.
Dude, whatever.
I don't know.
I don't care. It gets the job done. It does it well. That's all I care about. So we did that, and then we went to the zoo this morning. The Des Moines. It was packed.
Yeah.
It was crowded.
We're going to the Omaha Zoo next weekend.
Are you?
Yeah.
We were thinking about doing that as well. We were thinking there or maybe Chicago. I don't know.
We haven't been in, last time we went, they had like just gotten the baby elephants. And so we thought we're just going to do like a day. Like we're going to leave Sunday morning early, stay all day, come home at night.
They do have a water park area there.
Yeah.
By the way, we didn't do that the last time we went.
We probably won't do that. But
something to keep in mind.
Yeah. A little bit of media. I've been watching The Flash. We've been watching
the Grant Gustin one.
Yeah. Okay. So my wife and I have been watching Arrow because she never finished that. I love that show. I love The Flash too. It really lost some steam toward the end, but I like it early on. And I'm in like season 4, and I realized I'd never watched through it again before. I basically forgot like all of the last few seasons, so I feel like I'm watching it for the first time. It's kind of cool. Refreshing.
Sure.
Yeah. Because it's like I already know I like it. I'm already invested in the characters, but it's still like new.
I finished the Netflix documentary on 9/11 this weekend.
Oh.
Yeah, that was something.
Yeah. What do you think? What like
it's always, you never, I don't think you can always say you remember or you don't forget. Mm-hmm. But
is this the one? Because wasn't there one on Apple TV Plus?
No, this is on Netflix.
Okay.
So they had one. I watched one over the Cold War, which was really interesting. They have one on World War II, which I'm going to watch next. But the 9/11 one, it was kind of heavy, just because it's really like recent, right? Mm-hmm. It's not recent, but it is.
Yeah.
The beginning really focused on the day of the attacks, and that was, I was in 3rd grade when that happened, so
sure.
Thinking about all that, and I remember being at home sick that day.
You're in 3rd grade?
I was in 3rd grade.
I'm pretty sure I was in 7th. I don't know if that works. Your timing might be a little off.
Maybe.
2001? No, maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe.
I was in school. I was at home sick. I was probably faking it, if I'm being honest, being sick.
Maybe I was in like 6. No. I remember I was partially, I was homeschooled during that time.
Sure.
But I went to school for a few classes.
Okay.
And my mom would come to pick me up, and I remember her like pulling up fast and kind of screeching to a halt.
Sure.
And was like, "Get in the car, we have to go."
Yeah, it was just a wild time, and kind of watching it all over again and seeing perspective and hearing interviews of people that were there and that survived and just everything around it. And then the you can call them consequences, but the consequences that came after that, it was just really interesting. It was really interesting to see the other side of it.
Sure. So I think they put one out on, maybe I watched Netflix one. I think they put one out on Apple TV Plus. But anyways, I remember watching it, and like when I was younger, I vividly remember it happening.
Yeah.
Like it's like when my mom picked me up, it had like just happened on the news. So we went home, and I remember sitting in front of the news and like watching it and all that stuff. I knew that Bush was the president. Like I was aware of all those things.
Don't mind me. There's a fly.
Yeah. What I wasn't aware of when I watched the documentary of like the timing of everything. Like I didn't know that George W. Bush had only been president for like a short amount of time. Like I didn't like that stuff had escaped me because I was a kid. So just like the timing of events, that was what was really interesting to me. So you gonna get it?
No.
It's
gonna fly up my nose though. There's 2 around me. I know I didn't shower today. Leave me alone. Good Lord.
So 9/11 was an interesting time, and was this documentary just a historical, or was it like had a little bit of conspiracy in there?
No,
or was
it was just historical standpoint.
Just like staying,
It really gave the timeline of everything, and then when we went to war, and when we were in Afghanistan and defeated the Taliban, and then Al Qaeda, and then it all came back. And I probably said all that wrong, but whatever. It was an enjoyable thing to watch.
Isn't that wild? So like,
I say enjoyable from like a facts in history standpoint, not enjoyable.
Not that it happened. Yeah. Well, so what seems so crazy is like how that war lasted our majority of our lives up to this point.
Yeah.
So like, I remember being a kid when it started, And then in 2010, my dad and brother deployed to the same war.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then it just ended 2020 or whatever it was.
2021.
Yeah. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So we won't get into all the politics of that, but
we don't have to do that.
But you know what I mean? Like that's like our whole lives.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Wild.
All right.
So
speaking of childhood.
Speaking of our whole lives.
Yeah.
I thought today we could talk about what do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh, man. Like, what did I want to be? Because in kindergarten, I'm pretty sure I wanted to be a shoe.
So, like, what did... That makes sense. So, what did you want to be? And then we can go into what you want to be now.
When I was growing up, I really wanted to be like the next standards singer. So, like Frank Sinatra. I wanted to be the next Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin.
Yeah.
Michael Bublé type singer. I've always enjoyed singing. I've always enjoyed their music. I thought I'd be really good at it.
Yeah.
And then I guess further down that line, I developed just joy for acting and entertainment in general. So like I wanted to be a stage actor, then no, I want to be in movies. So really, I always say I wanted to be engulfed in some sort of creative acting type
performance type thing.
Yeah.
Mine was always music. I don't think I ever... I mean, I'm sure I did say to my parents, like, I want to be a firefighter or like stuff like that.
Sure.
But like, I started asking my parents for a bass guitar at like 7th grade. They finally got me one by 8th grade.
The bass guitar is such an interesting, like, how do you decide that's what you want to do?
Honestly, I don't know. I remember specifically my mom being like, "Are you sure you don't want a guitar?" And I was like, "No, I want a bass guitar."
That's cool.
I wanted to do bass. I didn't want to do the others.
Yeah.
I eventually learned those, but
sure.
I always wanted to do the bass. And then music was pretty much the plan until I got to my late 20s. Like that was the goal.
Okay.
So
I don't want to say it didn't work out because I've seen you still play every now and then. What would you say your new goal in life is then?
Yeah. So I think what's interesting, like what I would tell anyone, all of the things I've done have always led into the next.
Yeah.
So like primarily what I do now is I create videos and am a video editor.
Yeah.
But I use music in that every day.
You do?
Like all the time. So like knowledge of music, going to school for music, like all that stuff still plays a role. Like I edit all the music for my wife's dance studio.
Sure.
That plays a role. Like so I do a lot of stuff with music.
Yeah.
You know? So I guess now like I'm just interested in creative pursuits.
Okay.
Like the podcast, love doing that. Have the other YouTube channel. I like to write. I love helping my wife with the dance studio stuff. Like I just am interested in pursuing creativity.
That's one thing I've always wanted to get into. And I know we talked about this last episode, but I've always wanted to be able to write my own songs. I've never been good at it. I feel like, and now I know, well, you're just not doing enough. You know what? I'm probably not sitting down and writing, but I also don't know like the process. I've always been interested in figuring out other people's, specifically songwriters' processes. Like, what do you use as your, what do you use as your ideas? Do they come from real life? Do they come from stories you've made up, the movies you've watched, different stories you've heard? In the same sense with stand-up comedians, is all their stuff. They always say it's all true, but there's a mixture of a little bit of sprinkle of not fake, but over exaggeration in it to make it work.
Sure.
So that's just something that's always been interesting.
Taking something normal and then over exaggerating it enough to make it funny,
embellishing.
Yeah. I'm definitely not a successful songwriter. I've written I would say a couple, maybe a handful of songs that I deem pretty good. Not maybe amazing, but pretty good. I've written a ton of trash. And then there's been like 3 of them that I'm like, I like these. And I don't know. They all kind of started different ways. Like one of them I know I just kind of thought of like a lyric, like a line came to me. And then another one, like I had kind of a melody and I just put some chords to it and then I found words later. Like, I don't know. It just kind of happens. But I have the same with the stories that I'm writing. I came up with that idea originally working at the Bun-O-Matic factory down in Creston.
The Bun-O-Matic factory?
Yeah, they make the bun coffee pots. The company's called Bun-O-Matic.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I worked in that factory just like on an assembly line. Mm-hmm. So my creative brain was not engaged at all because you're just doing this like very monotonous thing all day. And I don't even know, I don't even know where the beginning of it started, but all of a sudden this just like my idle brain just kind of started coming up with the story.
Yeah.
I have no idea where it came from. I never even thought to myself about writing a book.
Is that something as like, just like you said though, you're not using that creative part of your brain. Mm-hmm. So that creative part of your brain, whether you know it or not, whether you're in tune with it or not, is thinking of something to help pass the time.
Yeah.
How do you think really notice as you're doing the mundane task of the factory work on an assembly line, where then you come up with these ideas at the same time of, oh, I'm trying to complete this stupid task or whatever?
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down. It's like what I was saying last week about using that AI app and I'm driving and I'm just saying my ideas. The driving, especially driving to work, because I've driven that like so many times. Like I don't think about driving to work. I don't think about the path I take.
Right.
I don't think about the steering wheel. Like
you know where you're going.
I know what I'm doing. So because I don't have to think about that, that's where that other, and that would be the same with, so like we'd be doing, I'd sit there and it's literally like, you take a part, you put it on the spot welder, hit the button for 8 hours. That's it.
Yeah.
You get so fast at that that you're not thinking. So all of your like motor skills you're not thinking about anymore. So your brain just gets freed up so I don't know. I'm sure there's some scientist out there that can really break it down.
I'm sure
for
there
us,
is, and I don't know when I got so analytical about it, or even if it is analytical, or if I'm just talking a bunch of bullshit. I hope it's analytical. I'd hope to think that I've gotten wiser as I've gotten older.
Are there other creative pursuits that you're pursuing, like outside of music, or that you'd like to pursue?
I've always had an interest in photography. I've always thought like going out. And it's nothing fancy. So I've got my dad's old Nikon D70 camera. It's not great. It's old. It's had thousands of pictures taken on it. It's 30 years behind its, whatever. I'm exaggerating on the years. But when I drive home on Veterans Parkway off in the distance, the sun is setting. There's a little farm and it's got these 2 smaller silos. And I'm like, that would be cool to pull over and snap a picture. Or I'm driving up to my in-laws in the winter and we drive over this bridge and you look off to the right and it's a cool river with some trees with frost hanging off them. And sometimes there's a bald eagle. I'd love to be able to take a picture. Yeah. Stuff like that. So that's gauging my interest. And I think at some point I want to get back into acting. I used to do a lot of stage acting when I was younger too, plays and musicals.
In high school and stuff?
High school, college, a little after college, but starting a family, getting married, having kids, it's kind of really, it's my schedule has gone away. My schedule has become their schedule.
Yeah.
So it makes it difficult just to do those ventures.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's definitely I struggle with that a lot. Like just, I want to sit down to write. I want to sit down to do something with music or work on like I do a lot of videos for like professionally, but it's like I do have some that I'm like I want to make a short film or like a whatever. But taking that time for your own personal projects is tough, especially when you have young kids. And we're just in that space right now of like, all the energy is taken up by kids and schedules and work. And like, that's just where,
I also used to be a great trumpet player. I always forget that that's kind of in my back pocket, that I can, practice for a few months and get to not at the point where I was when I was playing every day, but to a point where I could sit down and play a little bit. I think there's photographic evidence of me playing.
Yeah. Gosh, I started. So my first instrument was the trombone.
Good for you.
And then so actually part of the reason I got into bass was I had a really great teacher. Her name is Sue Hansen. So Sue, if you're listening to this, she's still here in town. Love her to death. And she was like, hey, I really think that you could learn. She's like, I need a tuba player for the 8th grade band. I think it was going 7th into 8th. And I also think you could be really good at the bass guitar. And she just like put that seed, and I was like, hey, that sounds like a great idea. And so then I went to tuba and bass, and there we are.
My dad was a drummer in his band, high school, college. I think he played a little bit of Drake. And I auditioned when they were like, pick your instrument. It was like, okay, I'll try the drums and then I'll try the trumpet. I really wanted to do the trumpet because I had a friend at the time. Him and his dad played the trumpet. I guess I can still call him a friend. More of an acquaintance now, really. I'd like to get back to friends. Brian, if you're watching this, text me. But they were always great trumpet players. And I thought, man, I really want to be like them. And it's so cool. And, you can blow in this instrument and make this sound. And you can play really high. You can play really fast. And the drums, I'm just hitting an object. And I don't really get it. But my drum score outweighed my trumpet playing score by a large margin. And they said, well, you could play the trumpet or you could play percussion. And I said, no, I want to play trumpet. So that's
nice.
How that started.
So did you do a lot of like jazz band and that kind of stuff? Yeah.
I wish that I could have just in high school have done jazz band only. The amount of times that I was told by my teacher that, you're playing too bright, you need to warm it up. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I don't want to do that.
Right.
Let me rip some high notes, play some jazz licks, and go home.
Yeah, so I loved all so part of it was I just loved all the music stuff. So I did band, marching band, concert band, jazz band, all that stuff. But I wasn't allowed, I couldn't do sports because of my heart stuff. So I couldn't do sports. That was not allowed. So I'm like, well, I'll just do all the band stuff. But I did carry a sousaphone for marching band.
Nice.
And I loved doing that. And me and a couple of guys, it was my sophomore year maybe, or junior year we started this. We went up and saw the UNI marching band play. And at the end of their show, the tubas would run off, and they had 20 of them would run off, and they'd run around on the field, like run in a circle and do this whole thing. So me and the other one tuba player, just two of us at the time, we were like, we're doing that. And so we recruited some other tuba players, and then we started the tuba circle at the end of Winterset Marching Band stuff. And it just ended a couple of years ago.
It was still going on
today. It was
today.
still going on.
Cool.
And every time we'd go to a football game, I was like, that's my legacy right there.
Not anymore.
That was it.
Not
and
anymore.
Now it's finally gone. And I was so sad.
Oh, no.
I made it almost 20 years of that was my contribution right there.
It was so funny, thinking about the different things you wanted to be when you grew up. Because when I was playing trumpet in high school, I really thought, okay, maybe I'll ditch the whole singing thing and I'll play trumpet for a living. I was really into Miles Davis, Maynard Ferguson, the guy who could just rip it high after all the drugs he took. He just started playing as high as he could and whatever. But
that
then
became the stick.
And Chris Body. I saw Maynard once before he died. That was an incredible show. And then Chris Body, he's more of a classical style, but he also does a little bit of jazz. Wynton Marsalis is another jazz player. And then it came to college, and it was more like, okay, you want to do music, but there wasn't really an option. It was either perform or teach. And performance was really just ingrained in my brain that, well, you're not going to do anything there, so you might as well just go teach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Couldn't do both. I couldn't do voice and instrumental, so I had to choose.
Yeah. That makes it tough.
That was hard because, once you choose one, you quit focusing on the other, and that's really when the trumpet playing became less and less and less.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, the thing that I didn't consider, and this kind of even goes back to our college discussion of like why I think it's silly to try to push kids into stuff right out of high school. Obviously, you have to do something, but like trying to make them define it is tough because the other thing that happened is like podcasting wasn't a thing when we were in school. Or like there's so many creative things now, creative outlets that weren't options before or things that we would have done. So I didn't realize all the other creative outlets I could have had at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, how do we navigate? Oh my goodness.
That fly is getting you, man.
That fly loves me. How do we navigate taking what we wanted to do creatively with our lives and implementing it into today, right? Because obviously you and I both have jobs. We'll call it the 9-to-5 life. I think mine's more 9 to 5 than really yours is. And I've sort of just been using the 9 to 5 to be able to afford to do the creative side.
Yeah.
Really to be able to do the things that I want to do, to be able to, if I want to go to a concert, go to a concert. If I want to buy a new instrument or buy a new piece of camera equipment, be able to do that. Obviously now with kids, that's not become feasible, but as they get older and as I get older, I'm sure that will come more into fruition. Hopefully more money comes as well. That's always a wish though, right?
Right. Yeah, I think for me, I can always seem to like I'll take writing, for example. That's something that's pretty easy to like find some time for. I can do it before bed. I could wake up in the morning a little bit and write just like a half hour here and there. So for me, it's not so much finding the time for that stuff. It's having the actual creative energy for it.
That too.
Like that, because like I said, I can, sit, if I'm going to eat my lunch for a half hour, I can write something when I'm doing that. But it's like, I'm just drained. Like my brain just doesn't, I'll sit down to do it and I'm like, I got nothing. Like there's just nothing here because now for me, I'm do a lot of creative stuff for my actual job.
Right.
So then I'm like using it for that. And then I'm, so you just run out of energy. So it's like, I try to capitalize on when I have a little extra burst of it.
Yeah.
But that's not enough to, put out any quality work necessarily.
Yeah. The exhaustion part of it, whether that be from just working and then parenting, you can say that is part of it. I would also say that probably my lack of being in shape also leads to the exhaustion part of it, right? Which we can get into that later, but that's a different episode topic.
Yeah. Could be a good one.
It might be. Yeah, it might be a good one. That's just what you want to hear is how do I exercise from an overweight 30-year-old?
Very chaotically.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'd be my bigger issue is the creative, having the energy to do it. Yeah. So, but I also think to myself, if we don't do it, if I don't find the energy to do it, then I'm going to be upset all the time with myself.
Is it just going to die, or are you not going to have a spot where there's emotions can be let out and you're just going to hold it inside and then you become a terrible person?
Sure.
So with all of that being said, how are you going to navigate your kids asking, or when your kids tell you what you want to be, what they want to be when they grow up, or give them that idea of, okay, here's what you need to do.
Yeah. I want my daughter to always know that she's got plenty of options.
Yeah.
She doesn't, and that even if she picks something to pursue at 18, say when she graduates high school, she doesn't have to pursue that forever.
Absolutely.
And she can, like I've changed careers many times. So just because that's what you pursued for a while doesn't mean you have to do it forever. But then I hope what I can just instill in her is like Michael Jordan, you could argue, was the greatest basketball player because he had some natural talent.
There's no argument. He is the greatest basketball player of all time.
But he's also the greatest basketball player because he put in the work.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope to I was going to say Steve Rogers. Mr. Rogers always used to say that, everyone was special.
Right.
What I think he would say, everyone was special and that, everyone, you can be whatever you want to be. What I think he meant by that was you can be whatever you want to be if you put in the effort to do it.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope to teach her. It's like, if you put in the work, you can do whatever you want to do, but you have to put in the work.
You do have to put in the work. And I think that's a good part of it too. My kids being 4 and 2 haven't really gotten to that point yet.
Yeah.
I think if you ask my 2-year-old, he'd want to be Mickey Mouse or a member of the Paw Patrol, right?
Right. Which, hey, Paw Patrol's great. That'd be a great gig.
It's something, man. I still don't grasp the whole idea of the show, but
Sure.
Good for the people that did. But yeah, you can be whatever you want to be. You just have to, number one, enjoy it. You have to be doing it for no one else other than yourself.
It has to have intrinsic value.
And you have to work hard at it. Like, you have to put in the work to do it.
Yeah.
Like you said. And I think that's really what it gravitates around, is putting in the work.
Yeah. Yep. So that's what I'd hope to teach her. And I think I don't know. That's probably the only, if I could leave her with that,
You've done your job.
I've hopefully done my job. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool, man.
Well, hey, man, should we get you out of this mess of flies that won't leave you alone?
Whatever, dude. Story of my life. Story of my life.
Well, hey, thanks everyone for watching and listening. This has been Talking Bearded, Unscripted and Unshaven.
If you want to support us, we've got social medias out there. You can follow all those. The Facebook page is developed. You can really find us anywhere by searching Talking Bearded. Another way to support us is to tell your friends, your family, corner them, grab their phones.
Almost the greatest podcast you've ever listened to.
Don't go that far. We're not there yet, Brenden.
No, we're not.
But yeah, just like, subscribe, comment, leave us a rating, leave us a review.
Ratings on Spotify. Leave us on Apple. Leave us those ratings. That's a help.
All right.
It's a big help.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Cool.
Star Wars nerds.
I'm leaving that in.
That's fine.